What's up, Heritage family? How's everyone doing? It is the last week.
Everybody says amen. Like, I'm sure we are all hungry and probably maybe even bored. Like, I don't
Dreaming
know.
about what you are going to, what's the first meal going to be,
Yes.
salivating over those things. I get it. But yes, we are basically, as of recording this video, today is Thursday. We are heading into the final days of the 21 days of prayer. It's been really, really good. I've been hearing some really cool stories and testimonies. I've also heard a lot of difficulties, and frustrations and fears and all these kind of different things. So it's been really cool to kind of hear everybody's perspectives and journeys through the 21 days. And so kind of as we walk into this weekend and wrap up these 21 days. Just kind of a quick conversation today and what we want to focus on. Last week, you and Pastor Steve talked a lot about like the fear of failing and all these fears and frustrations that kind of come through these 21 days or any time of prayer and fasting. But as we wind this down, our kind of focus today is more along the lines of, okay, like what now? Like we're approaching the 21 days of prayer and fasting. This is coming to an end. Like, what's the next steps in this journey? Do I keep going, or like that's kind of the kind of thought that we're trying to wrap up today. So what are your thoughts there?
I think the first thing you got to do is continue the remainder of this with a heart of expectancy. So like I really expect Sunday for us to see and experience the move of God.
Amen.
I really do have that readiness in my heart that we're gonna experience that and see that. So I think really come this weekend with that expectancy, because we've really been intentional to discipline ourselves. And I think that's a really good word to remember when this is fasting. Like that idea of discipline. Nobody really enjoys discipline, but it's necessary and it's good for us when it's done correctly. And so I think that's the value of what we're gaining throughout this. But one of the encouragements that I would definitely add to your world is, in the same way we give a lot of guidance in the book about like how to re-enter your body into the system of like eating and all of those things. And the whole idea of breakfast, it's a lighter meal. It's already less processed food. Some of those things like the oatmeals, the cream wheats, all that stuff's going to help your digestive tract kind of get warmed up for a couple of days before you dive into steak and potatoes.
The heavier stuff.
Right. But I think there's also a mindset of like re-engaging in some of the other things that you fasted. Because I think most people were being truthful. They did some sort of like food element. But I'm hearing a lot of people did some sort of screen, social media, entertainment, some of those things.
That's kind of what I want to like hit on a lot of today, is like, because I've had conversations with people that are like, they're like, again, they're in that mindset of this is coming to an end, but I've noticed the positive effects in my life from withdrawing some of these things, specifically social media. And so like they're, again, having these conversations of people saying like, I'm going to continue to like keep at least an element of this discipline in my life, because of, I noticed like it's benefited me. Yes, obviously spiritually, but even just like the discipline aspect of it, and like my mental and emotional health. I'm actually sleeping, going to bed sooner because I don't have all these distractions. And so kind of go into that a little bit more, like what you were saying.
So basically what you've done in the last 21 days, you created a habit. Yeah. You created a habit of not doing certain things. Right. And so you are now going to make like specific choices of what you allow back into your life. Yeah. And now, obviously, you don't continue to go without eating, like those things. Like, they obviously re-engage in some of those ways. But this is a chance for you to once again be really intentional to say, okay, what do I want to allow into my life? Because you've done the hard work of breaking the bad habits, but now it's just as hard of good work. But it's like, what do I need to have in my life to put me for success? The prayer and the Bible study, how do I have time for that? The social media intake, the entertainment intake, all of those things are going to be an opportunity for you to say, okay, how does this accentuate my life and not overwhelm my life? Right. And that's really what we've learned and gained throughout that first week of fasting. Because a lot of us realized, man, I spend a lot of hours on social media or on Netflix or on YouTube or whatever it may be. And so now there's that chance to go, okay, let's not fall back into the same holes that I was in before, and really set ourselves up for long-term success when you go forward this, because that's some of the things that we gain, that intangible. Because obviously the spiritual pieces of it, we've had really good God moments. We've had opportunities to like really dedicate more time. But now it's like, okay, how do I not make this just a special moment with God, but now how to make this a regular moment with God? Because there there are things that we just allow to overwhelm, and we give it an hour, and it's an hour and 30 minutes, and then it's 2 hours, and then it's 3 hours. So I think being intentional in this next week after the fast is done, not to just jump back to your old you.
I think that's key. Like, because when we jumped into these first 21 days, we were very specific about being intentional about like setting up a plan on how you're going to do this. The same thing applies on the way out of this. Like, okay, you kind of take time to pray and ask the Lord, okay, this is winding down, like to come out of this again with what you're saying, like a plan. Like, how am I going to do this? Is this a slow, gradual thing, maybe with the food or those elements of entertainment, TV, whatever it may be, like keeping some of those elements in your life? Because again, if you don't approach it with some kind of plan, you will fall back into those old habits that could potentially just lead you back down a road of distraction or frustration or whatever it may be.
I think the other really exhortation I would give you is really record what you felt like God did in your world, in your life over this last 21 days. Because sometimes you're going to say like, there's a big defining God moment. That's what you saw. And some of you are going to go like, it was less specific things that you saw, but maybe it was the closeness that you felt. Maybe like you just felt like you really did the work of prayer over needs. And you're like, I haven't seen the results yet, but I spent significant amounts of time praying for my kids or praying for this. I actually talked to a mom last night. She was leaving church, and she shared about her son and his wife that have jumped in with their church doing 21 days of prayer and fasting. But it was so cool because the last time the church did 21 days of prayer and fasting, she was praying that her son and his wife would have a spiritual renewal and that they would just be radically changed by God.
That's awesome.
They were kind of roughly connected with church and the faith piece of it, but it's cool to see that they found a new church, got plugged in, and then committing to 21 days of prayer and fasting, like was not just a short thing. So just, it was a long-term like answer to prayer that she sowed the prayer last March, and then is reaping the rewards now and like kind of the end beginning of this year. So it's been cool. So I want to just encourage you to kind of record, like, these were the consistent prayers. This is what I felt like God did. This is the story that I have. And then I would encourage you, as we talked about with Pastor Steve the other day, don't negate the discipline that you gained in this, because I will tell you, and if you get to have a personal conversation with me at some point, I would love to share all of the psychological pieces that I felt like God was really showing me of what this fast was doing for me, to like the ability to just say no and the ability to say yes and the ability to change habits and do the things that I know I need to be doing. It's really been profound. I would say this, and it's funny because it not that sounds new age, but it seemed like it was almost like God was trying to show me like how the Holy Spirit's empowering me and giving me that as ability. And it's just by me like breaking down the flesh. Like it's me saying no to my body, to my flesh, to the desires. And God saying, hey, use that same willpower and control that you're illustrating in this towards all these other things. So, because your mind's going to continue to lie to you about what you can and you can't do. And this is a great illustration, just proving that you can do this. And so I really feel like this next season of ministry in church, I'm excited about it, because I know a lot of times you just feel like, okay, I don't know that I can do that or that I'm ready to do that. And I feel like the Lord just spoke over this last 21 days of like, no, you absolutely can. Like you withheld from your body something it absolutely needs, and you did it with relative ease. And so now the next obstacle that you come up against, like you can do and overcome whatever it is in front of you with relative ease. So I just encourage you, write those things down, share the story. The other piece I would love to say, we would love to hear your story, what God's doing in your life and your circumstances. It's really good. It's encouraging for us to be able to hear that, so we can share your story and some of the details from it, because I know that brings a ton of faith and value in a lot of people's community. So I will say this. We are so close to the end. Stay strong with it. Finish strong with it, with the idea, like bring it to completion, end it well, and then set yourself up for the next time that you fast. Because when you end and you've recorded it and you saw what God did and you spent some time really considering the activity of God over the last 21 days, it's going to help bring you to a place that says, the next time that I'm ready to jump into a fast, whether it's a church-driven fast or just a you-driven fast, you're ready for it because you've seen the value in it. So,
and I would hit on that too, like, because at the beginning of this is one of the things that we encouraged you or that we've talked a lot about is like, this should be a routinely thing in your spiritual life and in your journey. It's not just something that we do to collectively as a church. I mean, it is obviously, but you get what I'm saying? Like, this is something that you should be doing in your faith journey when the Lord prompts you to, or when you feel the need to, and don't ignore those moments.
It doesn't take a 21-day prayer and fasting from a church to do this.
Exactly.
And so Mandy and I, we've kicked around that we're probably going to try to fast 10% of our year. So like 1 week in a year or 1 week in a month, we're going to try to accomplish that and do that, and really just feel like that may be what the Lord's calling us to on this discipline. But I was thinking about the other day is we did the last fast in March. And so we've actually done 2 21-day fasts in the last year or full calendar year.
The time
so
frame.
It's kind of an interesting perspective, because I'm like, if you did a complete fast for that, you're talking, you fasted for almost 2 months of the year, or like a month and a half is what, So it's just kind of a crazy thought process with that. So it gives you a little bit of like, hopefully it's not about pride, because we see Jesus does this, but like, look what I was able to accomplish with like the Lord's help and the Holy Spirit, like empower me in it. So I just really encourage you to find some confidence in what God's doing inside of you and the work that's there. Maybe even if you feel like the Lord was directing you, says, okay, next time I want to try this. And when I'm fasting, or next time I'm considering this, these are just good things, because anytime that you see your words, your handwriting, like the way that you phrase things and you put it in writing, it's going to help you to believe it, because there's going to have all sorts of attacks and resistance the next time this comes up. And so now you're going to go back and look at your notes and be like, okay, this is what God was telling me at the end of this fast one. This is what I felt like. This is what I experienced. It is worth the hassle and the process for it. So I just want to encourage you, though, and say we're just proud of you. I've heard so many stories of just what God's doing. And I will say this, even if you don't see the results yet, just know that your time with the Lord will not come back void. Like, there is no way that you can invest 21 days into connecting with God and not see an impact in it. And now you may not see it in this moment, because this is really our timing, but what we're going to see, just like that story with that mom, in God's timing, he brought about the result that was being asked for in these moments. So don't be finite in the thinking that says this 21 days fast and answer in the same 21 days. Now it may happen, because I've heard stories of that.
No, for sure.
But there's also a chance that God's allowing you to sow in this season, and then in the next season, you're going to reap. And so let's just let's walk into this weekend, though, with an expectancy that God's going to can continue to change us and make things happen and come about in our life, in our circumstances.
And strong. We can do it. Just a few more days. And I encourage you to come this Sunday expecting. We do have a guest speaker who's going to be here Sunday morning and Sunday evening.
5 o'clock. Kyle Embry is going to be here. He was a Youth Alive missionary for a lot of years for North Texas. He's a personal friend of mine. We worked together for numerous years in the district office. He's an anointed preacher. And if you think I got a little energy, Kyle's got more than me. So it'll be a fun Sunday for us to
you're not going to want to miss them. For sure.
Have a change of pace, but also we're going to see the move of God. So I've already heard where he's taken the message, and I'm really excited about it, because I think it's a great continuation of where we've been this last couple of weeks with following me. And ultimately that's going to make us followers of the way that we see doing what Jesus did.
So Sunday night, 5
to 6:30.
5 to 6:30-ish. Childcare is provided.
Childcare is provided, and that's birth all the way up through 6th grade. So teenagers are going to be in there with us, but it'll be a good service. It's worth investing the time in.
Oh, absolutely. So make sure you are here, obviously both Sunday and Sunday night. And so bring the family, but come with an expectancy, because I do believe that God's going to show up in a big way, both services. So it's going to be a good time. So Heritage family, you can do it. Stay strong. God's got this. And looking forward to hearing all the great testimonies and stories.
Sounds good. We'll see you Sunday.
See you guys.